Welcome, everybody. We are back from the bye week and here in week 4 with Formula G. I am Zotomo, and I'm joined as always by Calamity. How are you?
Hello, I'm better than I was when I was doing the races. Uh, how are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, Brazil is famous, or rather infamous, for its challenging geography and, well, mostly challenging labeling and the fact that there is none. But yeah, so definitely showed in this week's points. But first, let's take a look at those locations. Yeah, so round 1 in Mato Grosso do Sul.
hmm We started in actually looking at the location. It looks quite nice. Less so probably the amount of information you get, or the movement. The movement towards the north, at least, that didn't actually go south, was slightly buggy. Not to the point where you were really hindered much, but you sort of had to click off the road to move forward. But you did eventually, if you made it far enough, there were some signs to the north that mentioned, some advertisement signs that mentioned Rondonópolis. And if you really made it far enough, you got to a river where you were told that you were between the cities of Rio Verde and São Gabriel do Oeste, which made pinpointing itself really easy. I'm also pretty sure there was the 163. There were some markers on the side of the road to give you that. So all in all, if you walk the right direction, a relatively easy location. I don't know if there was a similar amount of information present to the south, but looking at how there were like 4 or 5 people who got a perfect score in that round, I assume there wasn't.
Yeah, I think I just found the road number and then I wasn't really sure about where along the massively long highway we were, and kind of just finished off time before I could do anything else with that. But yeah, there were quite a few numbers, and if you went far enough the right way, you had some city names, so that helped. Round 2, one of our 2 locations near the capital,
Yeah.
relatively speaking.
Yeah, if you're talking about Brazil as a whole, that's relatively near the capital. Yeah, in the city of Rubiataba, in the state of Goiás. I did not find the city name anywhere. I walked sort of to the northeast, to the edge of the city, and then to the northwest, following the GO334, which I did find on a road marker, but the road itself it's very short, as most state level roads are in Brazil. So I couldn't find it anywhere. I did know that we're somewhere in the general area because, as you usually have in cities, there's phone codes everywhere. But that doesn't help you that much if you don't know which city you're in. But yeah, still, I think a decent amount of people found the general area. We only got like 2 perfect scores here, though.
Yeah, I think I had a street, like the state road, as well as maybe a phone, an area code, phone code. So I mean, you get that area, but yeah, like you said, pinpointing what little town, or Brazil, what town you were in, what was very tricky. I think I almost ran out of time for every single one of them. So as I do usually in Brazil. So round 3, a little bit closer to the coast for this one, but still quite a ways inland though.
Yeah, yeah, you weren't gonna get to the coast here
No,
in
no.
5 minutes. But yeah, this was our only location, I think, that was off any of the, like, either a city or off the yellow roads through Brazil. Near the little village of Acurui or Asturui, I don't know. I don't speak Portuguese. There was decent information available still. I'm not exactly sure anymore what I found, but I walked to the west and got to the city of Acurui. And I'm pretty sure there were some road numbers as well as generally numbers to give you the state. But I'm assuming, given that we had no perfect scores in this round, that a lot of people... let me just look through this. That I was going to say, I'm assuming that a lot of people made the same mistake that I did. And as it turns out, there was exactly one other person who made the same mistake that I did and went to the yellow roads. Everyone else got sort of closer to the city, which again makes me wonder how they didn't manage to pinpoint it. I guess they walked in a different direction than I did, because for me, if I had known that we were off the yellow roads and in sort of this little area out there in the woods, that would have been a fairly easy pinpoint. But who knows? Maybe some people in the comments can tell me why or how they didn't get that.
Yeah, I really blew this one. I think I don't, because I played it right when it came. Well, not right when it came out, but within a day or two of it being released. So it's been a while now. But I saw some signs for something, and I'm like, wait a minute, this all seems like names I heard of in the northern part of the country, and like my vague recollection of Portuguese, right? And then I was like, wait, maybe not. And then I didn't move my marker, and I was like, oh no, we're not in the north at all. So I think I was literally like almost the opposite end of the country for that one. So I did not do very well, to say the least, for that. Yeah, round 4, much closer to the capital than round 2, and thankfully we weren't in the capital, but just outside.
Why, thankfully? Would you not have liked to be in the capital?
No, because I remember Ed told us that Brasilia is like one of the worst cities in the world in terms of like layout and finding out where you are or something like that. So yeah, a couple of the people way better than me claim that it's the hardest city to be in Geoguessr, because you know you're in the city, but you can like almost never figure out where in the city you are.
Interesting.
I think they repeat a lot of names.
Maybe.
So like you have to know what district you're in first, because if you find a smaller name, it's in the same name as in different districts. So then you're like, okay, that doesn't help, or something like that.
Yeah,
but
I don't think
anyway.
I've ever been in Brazilian Geoguessr, but yeah, the location itself a lot further outside of the city, near a town/city called Santo Antonio do Descoberto, very close to the border actually of the federal district and to the state of Goiás. And if you went west, you probably made it to that border. And if you weren't as stupid as me, you would have probably figured out that that's the border you're on, rather than knowing that you're on the 60 somewhere and not figuring out it goes into Brasilia for some reason. So yeah, there was definitely more than enough information to pinpoint that, though.
Yeah, I think I found an area code for the capital state, so that helped a lot, because it has its own dialing code. So once you find that, you're like, okay, well, I'm near Brasilia in this little patch somewhere, and that's as far as I got.
Yeah, I might have even found that, but at this point I was so frustrated with everything that my brain just stopped working.
Yeah. Okay, well then round 5 we were moved south to the little kind of panhandle, so to speak, of Brazil down there.
Yeah, one of the easier areas for phone codes to remember, because Rio Grande do Sul only has 4, which are 51, I think 53, 54, and 55, and the 2 bigger ones are to the west. So given that we are in a relatively big city in Santa Rosa. And I also found the city name somewhere, which made it even easier.
There you go.
Yeah, that made that location pretty easy, and most of the people did get it right.
Yeah, I knew we were in the Rio Grande. I knew we were in a big city, and that's as far as I got. I did not find Santa Rosa anywhere. So I was literally, I think with like a couple seconds left or whatever, just looking at the map, zoomed out, and said, well, I can pick one of these big cities, and I just picked one, and I wasn't correct. So, I think I did pick Santa Maria, so maybe I did see a Santa something, and I was like, maybe this is it, or
Yeah.
I don't know. But that doesn't really help you because there's Santa everything, right? So I was like, yeah, whatever. Just pick the biggest city that isn't the capital in the region. So go with that. But unfortunately, we were really close to the Argentinian border, actually. So
Yeah.
very nice. Okay, well, let's move on to quickly, hopefully, cover the sprint locations here in Sao Paulo. This was very rough for me, who had no time.
Yeah.
Calamity.
Yeah. I don't even want to talk about it. But
Okay, well, moving on.
yeah, four of the locations were pretty much downtown on some of the bigger roads. Pretty uninteresting in my opinion, but who cares about my opinion? Now, I got lucky on the first location. I knew it was Avenida Paulista because, well, of course, there's signs for it everywhere. But yeah, I at this point even more frustrated from the feature race, and I didn't find it anywhere. And in the end, I knew we were somewhere close to the city center, so I placed it randomly, and was like 100 meters away by luck. Then
Always nice.
Yeah. Then everything nice was taken away from me near the racetrack in Interlagos, because I didn't realize we were near the racetrack. I didn't see the racetrack, or I probably saw the racetrack. It just didn't register in my brain. And I didn't find anything else that, well, I found some signs pointing towards certain districts in Sao Paulo, but none of them were anywhere near Interlagos, which meant no points for me. And then round 3 through 5. Well, let me look at that again. Yeah, round 3 was a bit further northeast than round 1 with Avenida Paulista, which just on the other side of the city center. Again, this one was actually one of the easier ones probably for me because we're near a river, and pretty much every information you needed was close to the start. I don't think I moved more than 50 or 100 meters and actually managed to pinpoint that one, which was a rarity for me here. Then we got location 4 near a big park, more towards the south, relatively close again to Avenida Paulista. Again, I think I probably found some signs for certain districts, which I then didn't find anywhere. And in the end, I just went somewhere in the city center. And probably if you had gone northeast, which I did, but not far enough, you would have made it to Avenida Paulista again, which would have probably helped for pinpointing here. And then round 5 was just maybe, how far is that? About 200-300 meters northeast of round 1, on a side road that leads into a tunnel called, I don't even remember, the tunnel 9 de Julio, which was, I don't think I remember that, but I did find it somehow. I didn't really like the locations much, just because all of them were like, except for the one on the racetrack, of course, but all of them were in the city center. I was much more of a fan of the locations in Montreal, which sort of showed you a lot of different parts of the city and not just what the city center looks like 4 times.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't recognize the track because that was the only one I recognized.
I didn't. I would have recognized the track if I've seen it, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't see, but like, yeah, I just spun around. I was like, oh, that's a racetrack. Oh, what's it called? And then I kind of was really happy with myself that I remembered that the F1 track in Brazil was called Interlagos, and I found it on the map, so I was really happy. But then it was downhill from there.
Yeah.
I think I kind of had the same thing as you, where I thought the locations were not going to be all clustered in the city center. And so I was like, well, this looks like we're somewhere near the big area, but not in it. And I don't know. I think for me, what really happened was there was like information overload. I would get a lot of these district names, and then I would go to the map and go, okay, I can find this. And hell no, I can't find it, because like one, they keep popping up as I zoomed in, so I couldn't figure out which level of district I was actually supposed to be looking for. And as a substitute driver, I was on the shortest time, so I was just not. I was only given like what 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, I think it was 2.5. It should have been.
Yeah, to complete it, which for me was just not enough time when I'm unfamiliar. And yeah, I was looking like way out from Sao Paulo. I was looking all the way down and then like east and west, and like oh, they're all in the middle.
Yeah,
so,
the problem for me as well is, as I've said before, I think that even if you found the districts on the map, you were most of the time you were nowhere near them, which I don't know how you can make a city or make signs like that, because they're not helpful. But whatever.
Yeah. Well, that was the locations. So let's move on to how the drivers actually did in these races. For the feature race, closed maintains that tight grip on first place at the top for that feature race. As Calamity mentioned, nobody getting 25K in this one. Closed his best score 24,259. Giovanni, though, pretty close, as well as Tom Paula and Mr. Blue and Barry Fish Bear, all regulars at the top of the table for the races, but all falling short of that 25K mark. Calamity, you move kind of further down to 9th. And maybe the most interesting thing to note here, I'm on the chart because my fellow driver failed to compete, so they used my score of a whopping 12,139 in this one. Of course, the one week I get called on is Brazil, right? But thankfully, or unthankfully, maybe for Wakelock, I was not last, so... Wakelock at the bottom of the pile there, 8,085. So, yeah, anything from you here, Calamity?
Yeah, I was mostly surprised, as I've said to a couple of people before, that no one got a perfect score. No one even got close to it, because I thought for a Brazil seed, this was a very easy seed. I just played awfully. Probably the one location where I can understand it the most, and where a lot of people did mess up slightly, was the location northeast and northwest of Brasilia in Uruguaiaba, because the information itself wasn't great that you were given. Again, you might have had to get a little bit lucky on finding some road numbers there, but everything else, in my opinion, had more than enough to find out where exactly you are. For the people itself, I think, again, relatively unsurprising with some exceptions. Right now, I don't have it in my head how Orpheus performed in the last couple of weeks, but I know he had a very strong start to the season. So him being down in 15th here might be a bit surprising, as well as Max in 16th. Other than that, no real surprises at the top. Mostly people you'd expect to be around there.
Yeah, I think definitely the feature races seem to be where the kind of, as we progress, the drivers separating themselves by skill, right? So maybe some people might be good in a particular country, but if we have a decent kind of normal-esque seed in a more difficult country, those players' skills do kind of rise to the top for sure. Yeah. And then for the sprint race, which, as it's kind of been for the last couple weeks, is almost a mirror image of that feature race, given how the time limits are handed out. So a lot of the players you saw towards the bottom of the table are towards the top in the sprint race. A few exceptions: Jack, Tall and Paula, doing very well towards that top of the table, even in the sprint race. Probably a thing of note here, Slovak goalie picking up his first points in Formula One, so he'll be happy with himself for that. Other than that, Octane getting a double podium here. Still this Nick and Deep Thought going 2 and 3. While FGT Racing, though, double next to each other towards the bottom, though, 14th and 15th. Yeah. So.
Yeah, you forgot about Deep Thought as well, who got two good results in the sprint race and the feature race. But yeah, You said a mirror image.
He was sixth.
Yeah,
but,
it depends on how you apply a mirror. Um,
Not
but
true.
yeah, kind of the inverse of the feature race. Max, Steal This Nick, one more person I think that I can't remember right now. All the way at the bottom in the feature race, all the way up top in the sprint race. It was Wakelock. That was who.
Yeah, Wakelock also.
So yeah, as with a lot of sprint races before, kind of not necessarily random, but you know, not what you'd expect, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the time differences really make quite a big deal, because people who have even a minute or two more, you can eke out with that minute or two more each round, right? Not total. You can eke out a couple hundred or even 1,000 points in each round, and those add up. So that puts you, 2,250, not 200, yeah, 250,000. No, that's not right either. Some number above your opponents in the long run. I'll learn how to speak English eventually. I'm taking classes, I swear. Yeah. So, but a noticeable thing, Redect and Menislav Geo, kind of regulars of not participating in the sprint race compared to the feature race. And I did receive a message from Sir Lemons. He said he just was overwhelmed this past week, and unfortunately was not able to get the sprint race. And I believe he did the feature race at the last minute too. So, yeah, unfortunate for him for that. But okay, well, let's look what all this means for us in the actual standings for the drivers. Closed, Max, and Mr. Blue staying at the top, of course. No changes there. Lancaster getting... Oh, why did I say Lancaster at the bottom? Oh, because I wrote my notes in the reverse order. Of course I did. Steal This Nick was the one who picked up some extra points here for that, shuffling a few things in the middle of the pack. Slovak Goldie, of course, picking up his first points, moves him off the bottom. Yeah, but definitely more open than the last couple weeks. So points kind of given evenly out through a lot of people for this time. Calamity.
Yeah, given how different the results were for the feature and the sprint race, a lot of the drivers just don't move much, because usually they picked up points either in the feature or the sprint race. The two drivers that stand out as different from the others here are Deepfought, who had a great week, which puts him sort of away from the bottom of having barely any points up into the midfield, and me, who picked up 2 points and therefore dropped down quite a bit.
Yeah, so a lot of drivers, you might look at those standings from the races and say, like, well, they earned so many points, how did they not move in the table? Well, the problem is everybody around them also got a lot of points. So you have to kind of either get no points or a lot of points in both races in order to really kind of move your position on the table a great deal, other than a few places. So, yeah. Only one driver without any points, Manislav Geo, still at 0, but everybody else having at least gotten something on the board. And as we move over to the Constructor Challenge, Oberhausen Sports still at the top with Katsa Rivatsa in second. I don't think there was too many noticeable changes. Yeah, Lancaster did get a little bit of a bump now that they have 2 drivers participating. Wakelock having a decent showing in the sprint race. And a bit of a shuffle at the bottom with FGT falling a few places. But I mean, FGT, you guys are still right there with 62 points on the heels of kind of the pack. So
yeah, it's very,
not a whole lot to worry about.
Very close between second and ninth, and just the bottom and the top falling or running away a bit.
Yeah, very densely packed. But yeah, close, man. I don't think I would have counted on him being the runaway leader at the beginning of the season, but he's definitely showing his skill here.
Yeah, I would have expected him to be right up there, maybe like top 5 for sure, but running that far away with it is very good.
Do you think it's more him or more of other drivers who would have given him tougher competition haven't really proven to be able to do that so far?
I think it's a combination of both. I think he's just made a good. He's done a good job with the seeds he's gotten, and a lot of the quote unquote favorites just usually they show up in one of the races most of the time, or sometimes in neither really well. I'm assuming a lot of the favorites aren't practicing too much for this. So that's also probably why they're not quite up there all the time. And kind of, if they haven't practiced and they get a bit of an unlucky seed, they're going to fall down there like everyone else.
Yeah, maybe everybody's suffering a bit of the after Reddit League slumps, as well as the kind of getting addicted to Battle Royale mode, which seems to be quite popular. I know you spent like how long the other day?
I mean,
do you want to talk about it even?
Yes, I spent 17 hours in 2 days, and since then, that was when the level was introduced. I've played one game of Battle Royale, and I have no desire to play anymore.
Yeah,
and
so there's
again,
been a few.
that was, I think that was like the 2 days before the Brazil race, something like that.
I think it was, yeah.
So I was probably just really burnt out, and I hadn't played anything else really in Geoguessr other than Battle Royale, which is pretty bad for you for moving games.
Yeah, it's almost just simply find the country. You're not really pinpointing at all, so it's quite a different set of skills there. Yeah, so that might have played a little bit into this week's results, new game modes and features coming out, but yeah, hopefully they'll do a lot better next week, and especially you, Calamity, because you'll be on your home track as we head over to Austria. Mapper's Map, average score of 18,332. It's been played almost 15,000 times with 1,000 locations. And we're in Graz, I believe, for the sprint race. I don't know much about Graz. I know it's one of the largest cities in Austria, but can you fill us a bit more?
Yeah, it's
Calamity?
Pretty nice. It's not too big, so you shouldn't have many problems with pinpointing. A lot of the street signs, at least for some districts in the city, tell you the district you're in below the street name. And yeah, I think actually it might be all of them that do that. Some of them might just do it in numbers and not in the name of the district, so it might be helpful if you learned those beforehand, if you want to put the time into that, of course. It might depend a bit, because Graz covers quite some distance, similarly to Sao Paulo, where a lot of it is pretty far outside of the city. So you could just be up in sort of the mountains almost around the city, depending on what sort of locations we'll get. And those might be a bit more tricky to get quite right, depending on the time limit. Because if you choose the wrong way, don't go like down the mountain the right direction, you might just end up very far outside of Graz without much to help you pinpoint.
Okay. Yeah, so you're hoping you'll be able to do very well on your home turf, Clem?
Yep, I definitely hope so. I'll have, like, with 9th place of the feature race, I'll have a decent timer for the sprint race. But I mean, I had like the second longest time in Sao Paulo, so that doesn't mean anything. But yeah, in Austria especially, I think I've got a pretty good chance to perform well. I'm not the best at Austria, because I've been to about everywhere in Austria apart from Vorarlberg, the westernmost state, but to most of the places just a couple of times. So I do recognize most of the bigger cities, but if we're like out in the middle of nowhere somewhere, knowledge of Austrian places might not help me that much.
Yeah, I don't think it helps anybody. If you're in the middle of nowhere and you're in your home country, you're not gonna be able to get much from that at all. So that kind of goes for everybody. But yeah, well, thank you all for watching. We hope to see you next time in Austria. Please subscribe to the channel and hit that bell, because we will have some coverage of some of the racers and their performances for you here in Brazil, as we always do cast a few of those videos every week as well. Should be coming in the next couple days. Yeah, so we'll see you all then. Take care.
Bye.